Today in the EU, why Valentine's Day will taste more bitter this year. Are you looking forward to celebrating the Day of Love? You're not the only one. For food producers, the day is a test of how far consumers are willing to stretch their budgets. After all, chocolate prices have been skyrocketing due to a perfect storm of supply chain disruptions, climate change, and energy crisis. Only in December last year, the price of cocoa beans surged by 250%. So how is inflation shaping broader food trends in Europe? And what alternatives to cocoa beans chocolate could we soon see? Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Giada Santana, and this is Today in the EU. Today, I'm here in the studio with Sofia Sanchez Manzanaro, agrifood reporter at Euractiv. Hello, Sofia.
Hello, Giada, and happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, indeed, today is Valentine's Day, one of the cocoa business's favorite days, especially here in Belgium, the country of chocolate. However, we've seen retail prices jump quite a bit in the past few months. What's happening?
So there has been a surge in prices in cocoa beans in 2023 and 2024. Basically, the surge has reached 250% increase in December last year. So yeah, quite significant. And that's why you might be noticing that chocolate is more expensive this year if you're planning to gift to a loved one or a friend. Of course, producers of chocolate in Brussels and everywhere in the world can not afford to reduce their margins that much. The increase in the raw material has been very significant, so they had to pass it on to consumers, at least partially.
And so in terms of the reasons, this is driven in part by climate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. Half of the cocoa we consume in the world is produced in West Africa, in Ghana and Ivory Coast particularly. And when these two countries have unfavorable weather, or just it's getting more unpredictable with climate change, right? If they have a bad harvest and bad weather, this means this has an impact on the global market of cocoa. Therefore, we have seen this negative climate for this tree. Then we have other issues such as disease affecting cocoa trees in Ghana, and there's no other solution but to cut them, basically. And also another very important reason is aging cocoa trees, because when these trees are very old, they don't produce as much cocoa, and you need to start a process of reforestation and planting new trees. But until these trees reach maturity, it can take 5 to 10 years to achieve the maximum yield they can give. So it's going to take a while until chocolate prices go back to normal, but I don't even think we can speak of normal anymore.
This is the new normal, unfortunately, it seems. And inflation on cocoa beans has impacted the whole supply chain, and consumers are feeling it.
Yes, indeed. In 2024, the demand remained steady, but as I've been speaking to different representatives of the cocoa sector in Europe, but also here in Brussels, to small chocolate makers, they feel that 2025 might not be as good. The year has just started, but this week, Valentine's week, is crucial for them to realize how sales will go. As a chocolate maker put it to me yesterday, it's a barometer to check how much are consumers willing to spend in high-end chocolate.
Yeah, you went on the ground and talked to several local chocolate makers. Were they stressed about this? What was the atmosphere like?
So they were quite reassured that their clients are loyal, and they explained to me that Belgians are chocolate lovers. It's really a tradition, along with the fries and the waffles. Chocolate is really entrenched in the Belgian culture.
Very good chocolate. Not too much sugar. Less sugar than in other chocolate. Really chocolate.
And have you bought here for a long time?
Oh yes. From the time he opens the shop, I come here.
And even if prices are going up in chocolate, you still come here always.
No, I come here because for me it's the best. Voilà. And you can see there all the people who brought chocolate all around the world. You see Australia, New Zealand, and just on the top, New Caledonia. There is one, it's mine.
These are also high-end products because I went to see artisan chocolate makers, the ones that produce everything themselves, that do not work with big chains, as we see in the center of Brussels when we go there and you see just hundreds of tourists buying chocolate as a souvenir. So these smaller artisans know that their clients really appreciate their products and that will come back for more. The thing is that if they were willing to spend 20 euros 2 years ago, those 20 euros are going to get them way less chocolate this year. They will go for smaller packs. That's what one chocolate maker told me. And others are just trying to be creative with their business.
Creative.
Yes. So, for instance, some chocolate makers still buy chocolate from big producers, and they cannot afford the machinery to produce everything from bean to bar. This is very expensive. But now it seems that machinery is getting more and more accessible.
Vous voyez, les fèves sont rentrées hier, donc ça vient de Sao Tomé.
And I spoke to a chocolate maker today in Brussels that has made a huge investment of thousands, hundreds of thousands of euros to be able to do everything himself in his boutique atelier in Brussels and import beans from Sao Tome and produce high-end chocolate pralines in his shop. This way, he has greater control of the prices of the final product.
That's quite an impressive system. However, this issue doesn't necessarily only impact chocolate. Since the 2021 energy crisis, inflation overall across the board has been holding above 2%. So, what other foods and raw materials have been hit by inflation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed, and everyone did, that in the past years, your supermarket bill has gone up and up and up. It's not a perception, of course. We reached a peak in 2023. Now, as you said, we're at 2% in food inflation. We've seen this with cocoa, with coffee. Coffee is following a very similar trend to cocoa for very similar reasons, one of them being climate. As well, orange juice, because also production is very concentrated in Brazil. Again, climate is disrupting the market. And in general, in Europe, a product that is very special to me as a Spanish person is olive oil. And olive oil prices skyrocketed in the past years in Spain. Last year, we saw around a 50% increase from 2023 to 2024. This is a lot of money for a product that is considered a staple in Spain, in Italy, in Greece. I'm sure you also use it at home. So this has even led to changing consumer habits, this cost of living crisis when it comes to food. So people in Spain using more sunflower seed oil than olive oil, going against all the traditions.
And this has to do as well with manufacturing costs,
yes,
right?
Yes, energy plays a key role. It's not only climate, it's also producing goods is more expensive because of high energy prices. And again, this is the new normal. It doesn't seem like energy prices are going back to pre-war levels anytime soon. And beyond energy, other ingredients that you need to produce chocolate, for instance, like butter, milk, they have also increased significantly in the past years. So it's the perfect storm. And while prices are slightly lower in 2025, for instance, for olive oil, we are very, very far to going back to where we were, to what we used to pay around 2020.
So it doesn't really seem like this is a temporary phenomenon, which brings me to the question, so what can we do about it? Is there any alternative to cocoa beans? Is it time to get into fake chocolate, if that's a thing?
There are some alternatives that are being explored. For instance, the roasting of certain cereals like barley and other products could resemble the taste characteristics of cocoa, and chocolate is never gonna be the same, of course, but people are trying to imitate this flavor. For instance, there's also initiatives to try to use precision fermentation.
Precision fermentation?
Yes, basically is a food technology method to try to create synthetic versions of foods. Precision fermentation is mostly used to try to replicate eggs and dairy in a lab, let's say, or in a fermentation tank. It's a bit complex, but there are studies to use these techniques and apply it to coffee and cocoa beans. So maybe we could have, let's say, synthetic alternatives to these commodities. However, it is yet to be seen if they will be able to be scaled up to be sold and commercially, if consumers will accept them.
I can already see the chocolate lobbying against them using the label chocolate.
Yes, just like with plant-based foods. It could be a very similar challenge, indeed, that's for sure. But one of the chocolate makers I spoke to, he really thinks that's the future for the industry, the large producers, and that at the end, the real cocoa and chocolate will remain a bit of a luxury. So it will become more expensive. And then also I have been speaking with other analysts that confirmed that more and more these big industrial producers of chocolate are using less and less cocoa in their recipes to be able to keep their prices low.
Well, dear listeners, buy chocolate while you can.
Indeed.
Thank you, Sofia.
Thank you.
This was Euractiv's podcast, Today in the EU. Sound design by Miriam Sáenz de Tejada, research and production by Charles Cohen. Visit Euractiv to stay on top of the latest news and sign up for our newsletters. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite streaming platforms. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. It will really help us spread the word about our work. See you tomorrow. As part of our commitment to accuracy, inclusion, and transparency, Euractiv is part of the Trust Project.